Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Article 2, approval of the agenda. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, if you were there, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 2 is passed. Move on to Article 3, approval of the July 21st meeting minutes. Again, if you'll take a look at those, I'll take a motion to approve these. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the meeting minutes. Article 4, Castle Park Project Phase 1 bid award.
Yeah, so as the board's aware, we've been working through the planning and design process for the Cascade Park improvements and the improvements at Burgers at state crossing of Cascade Road. And so we're now at the point of awarding the construction contract for phase 1. And just to clarify again as well, the project is being approached in 2 phases, with the reasoning being to allow construction to begin on certain aspects of the project while we're waiting for people on the riverfront part of the project. So we do invite you to kind of try to if you guys have any questions about this kind of layout, what the item is here. So phase 1 includes the demolition of the 2 existing buildings of the former Berber property and the former doctor's office. And then along with reconfiguration resurfacing of Thornton River Drive, and then the parking improvements along the River Drive as well, and some other related work. That work's anticipated taking place this fall. So the township received 2 bids on August 12th for this. The low base bid was submitted by Carbon 6 Construction, the amount of $661,598, which was within about 1% of the engineer's estimate. So engineer's recommendations to award the base bid to Carbon 6, and they also are recommending to award the alternate number 1. So this is the asphalt paving and pavement markings on Thornton River Drive. That's an additional $96,515, and that would be if the township is unable to complete that work through county road emission paving contracts, provide some flexibility if that doesn't work. So the recommendation award also notes that Carbon 6 has experience in managing municipal projects, including the recent renovation of the Cascade branch of the library, and also could be a good fit for this project. So that letter is in your packet as well. So the action before you tonight is to consider awarding that phase 1 bid to Carbon 6. But if there are any questions, be happy to go those or I can take them.
I can just say something that writes too. So because of the funding mechanism that's being bonded through the township, and then obviously the DDA agreement in July to pay the debt service, we're following the township's purchasing policy. It really needs to go through the board, but because the DDA is funding this, we're going to be worried about the DDA this week, and then it'll go before the board next week. So we're making sure that we're covering all bases and keeping both boards in the loop, so that no one is questioning what's happening or when that happened. So we've got some official records. So that's why I say for you tonight. Excuse me.
Can you do a brief refresh on the thing I know like that was going to happen on Thornton River Drive? They're going to take out the curb cut and all the what's an annual parking, right?
Yeah, I'll let Mike speak to that.
Yeah. So Thornton River Drive currently is 3 lanes, 2 lanes, 7 turn lane. Along the park, there will be 2 lanes, and then the 7 foot wide union, and then the middle part of the park. So we'll be able to buffer from Thornton River Drive, in the parking and road. And then how would the county treatment contract potentially probably like 100,000? The township has that road emission is a overall paving agreement. That's what further down on Thornton Drive was paid with recently. So that runs through this year. So if we can get everything done, the utilities, the prep, they already the final, and then they said that along that their main contractor would be able to portion of this project under that contract. So that's what the alternate one was, basically, we have a number of contractors that are these piece of road and have it on this contract, but also it's currently comfortable that we are.
Also just share the site plan overall if you want to revert that to as far as what that. Like,
That median's gonna be nice.
Then we had the early the smarting the poles that they are currently will be in the drive aisle of that parking area. So they're relocating those median as part of this within that construction timeline. So we otherwise we would have to push the parking much further than others. So the poles at the corners will be made, I guess, for the ones along that parking area.
So then pending our approval and the board's approval next week, what's the timeline on when this project starts?
So we were able to start right after the approval board. And then we have 4 weeks for the closure for every drive, that's what the road mission. So all the work for that road drive is done. We did September to mid-October, and then contact that one when we finish the part area. That's on the roadway. And financial completion would be by.
And with, so you're saying the whole 4-mile drive will be closed for busing? I'm just gonna assume that we probably, especially with school starting, contact with busing and how they would have to possibly reroute and or get those kids that are on from.
I not personally, I don't know if that totally takes place.
Yeah. We could talk about, yeah, we just found this on at the timeline, so we all work with schools on there, we usually do our own projects.
The carbon 6 coming in on time and about the third right level.
They absolutely did, and they were on this work on. They actually went over, yeah, already.
They're located about 96, right? We that force. We over to the days, but they're motivated and we have to so all one people with those.
As of right now, carbon 6 is only for this phase.
Right.
They could still potentially bid for phase 2.
Yeah.
But right now they're only in phase 1.
Correct.
Okay.
I they would bid.
Well, the demo of maybe not copy and Herbert Doctor's office. Will all that be taking place around the same time or how?
That the pavement demolition will be part of phase 2. We didn't want to have that opened up over the winter for erosion with flowing the river. So we're demoing the doctor's office building and the river building pavement over the main. And part of the doctor's office foundation from the river may be left in place as well. Could be that until we had the people, but I was right.
So this part of the project is done starting September, you said, and whenever that finishes by the end of the day. And then is there sort of a lull in progress of the project over the winter, or is there any work going on?
There, phase 2 will anyway plan is to go out to bid in October and bid buildings due early December, and then more than that start construction. Settling Wow. So, yes, we just have to be very. It's involved. You may even start something sequence.
Makes sense, I mean, January's never great. Unless we get really lucky.
More the library, with that.
I'm planning to put up a bunch of signage that says they want, or that does something great is happening, maybe some renderings. They're both on Cascade Road and Thornapple. Whatever, just everyone's curious and expectations.
And are there only two phases?
So, yeah, I have a question, and maybe you already addressed, on this. For the two-way traffic, one way now, going out the road by. Will that continue to flow or that speed shut down completely?
It'll be a complete shutdown. We talked about trying to keep one when open, but if you really challenging with the work. We live in the extending the construction timeline, you know, price is long. So I think the road commission will decide to just shut it forward down for 4 weeks. Keeping an access open, of course, the latency or what I can see right in that area, but it'll be blocked.
Yeah, but you know, get feedback from some of this across the speed. I know that sort of kind of stuff, you know, and I imagine things like access to my well and I will say the sound is the same, so we should do the most accurate information possible, it was the same well, everybody.
Yeah.
If there's a way that do some sort of access, you know, because I know it's like, access, but there is no way to do that. If I can't even use some way to do that cross.
Sure, and that's the maximum, so hopefully it won't be the full 4 weeks for that. When they demo the asphalt paving is there now, they'll have the stone that will hopefully be able to drive access to the driveway. The probably very brief shutdowns, for the hours for certain problems like paving, release some of the for having activity, to ensure the best was probably would be waiting to have it. So it was one of the to say parking for that in place that's happening.
Yeah, Margaret takes because a lot of the businesses in that plaza are on small as a city. I don't think it's something like that, but that's different between them or not. But some stuff is supposed to be already lots of stuff. Yeah, like last year, we had that whole construction, we need to go over the oldest, you know, they let me go off. Some press up. You know, I like worse to go and some stuff, but I think that's not what you do. I don't know what it is, so. Well, hopefully, I mean, you know, what the picture. But. There's a really much change for intersection. When they go to the lanes, no, there it's gonna be just replacing the curb and then replacing the asphalt, all of the stuff there in that area. Okay, so you'll be able to drive on and the actual time is a wouldn't be able to get into vacancies. Gonna be very little. Like maybe some more to have this on the job saying the businesses are open, the police needs, here's your path to get into. You know, and then I think it's social media to communicate that. I'm ready to change it, what we done
For this, it's mid-September and mid-October
this year.
This year, for that closure, the full project that they want. Early September.
So that 4 week process goes that entire 4 weeks, right, with the other nothing's
Mid-September, they got over, and it might be quick that, but we need to find a way around that. Fees more, but I think, yes, retail and things like that, like it's as far as. We're on rolling.
Well, that will kind of fuss you, I think, but I can't imagine if they can get to that, family place. For most of that construction.
Oh, yeah, so if I could just interject a little bit, when we're somewhat at the mercy of the Kent County Road Commission, all of these road products that we have there, we have road closures. We try and do as much signage and public outreach as possible. We've had a couple of, Thorn River Drive that's been replaced already, and then we had Thornham's done. We did work closely with the road commission and, try and work with the residents as much as possible, work around. We'll definitely work at this intersection, but I think looking at the left-hand turn lane, gonna make it look right there at the corner. I would think that it would be minimal disruption, except for when they're doing the replacement, but we'll work more with them. And I, like I said, you're gonna have access to the residents. So the good thing about this one is you've got a really easy loop around to go around 28th Street and with that, but the entrance into the gathering place and Lima definitely we'll make sure we work them. Oh, that's right, I didn't, so.
But that house. There's nothing.
Nothing, right.
And then the brown house next to it, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's really the gathering place.
I've never seen.
Yeah,
You got
The front two shouldn't be affected because that's off of Cascade Road, they don't have that through access, they used to.
you're talking jamming.
I'm sorry, you're correct, yes. I'll retract that.
I think we. They'll do it, right, all the construction. They'll do it best.
What about next early or spring phase 2? Will there be, we don't have road closures for that, do we?
Nope. There will probably be some temporary lending closures on Cascade Road. The work's being done along there, but we still laying open both directions. Going that over the drive, you'll already work on that, maybe. Hang on, the rest of you. Sorry. All side of the. So Cascade Road, we had some like curb and sidewalk work, so they may have to close off just like outside lanes. Narrow it to one lane while that's going on. Probably like, yeah, a window. It'll be. Yeah,
By the bridge, right?
Yeah, everything, the bridge side of the intersection. Oh, yeah. That'll all.
And this includes all the far left side, that loop around. That include phase 1 to that we take care of.
The road commission stopped paving about 15 feet southwest of that part entrance, so we're just gonna match that pavement road and pave all the way to the halfway road. It may be a nuisance for society, see if I'm better. Yes, so.
It can be as short as possible, and there's still ways for people to get into that, especially that one.
Yeah, there is a specification from the area that we if starting to be able to go, make sure that's.
Was it last year that the bridge was on?
Yeah, well, it spanned and fall into.
Yeah.
In spring.
That was
And I think a key to success is to get out in front of the narrative. The more you explain and talk about it, and you say, hey, here's kind of the guardrail, so that now the end of the project's when everyone starts writing the most. And then it opens and everyone is just like, this is awesome. And so it's just like, I think that narrative in front is going to come to the success of not having so things. Cool. Alright, it's fine now.
You just have to wait till they find the next thing to have days on.
Was there any reason that Epic was so much higher on the Tesla parking lot improvements? Like they were at 419 versus the 364?
That portion, we didn't have a breakdown of the bids. But, most of the numbers were in line, with the estimate of the asphalt costs were really. Where we get higher, because. There, but, otherwise,
Any, other updates or surprises overall?
No, we didn't actually get to see the legal permit, so we had that kind of a allow, which is good. And then with that, utilities this morning, we'll move forward, running into the, so. Yeah.
Two big ones.
That's a milestone, zero.
Yes, the process was, quicker than, expected, so. It's,
So we need a motion for. Part of this into Carbon's C.
I'll make the motion to award the bid to Carbon Six.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Mike. Article 5, the fiscal year 27 TVA budget review.
Thank you, so purpose of reviewing this tonight is to give you an opportunity to look over the proposed budget and discuss any questions and potential changes. Obviously, we're only in August, but we want to get this in front of you as early as possible. That way there's plenty of time for that meeting, other changes to be made before bringing this to the township board, so. The budget before you is the 2027 requested budget. Just to clarify the process real quick, we'll have discussion here tonight and then make a motion to recommend order requested by the township board. We'll then incorporate this into their overall township budget that's passed. So there are several line items that are changing here from the 2026 original budget. So I'll briefly go through some of the more significant ones, rather than go line by line. But I'll just mention too that overall the DDA budget has tended to remain pretty status quo through recent years. With most line items rolling over the exact same prior. You'll see in this budget that remains true for the most part, but a few line items might look a little different. So as we continue to see the GDA evolve, types of projects and activities that we're involved with, we may see more adjustments to it as well, so. So first, I just want to start by taking a quick look at the ED as a whole. I did provide a hard copy to each of you. I just want to point out that's a little different than what was in the packet. The main difference, each expenditure is the same. We did change a little bit to represent the bonding that's going to take place, so I'll mention that here, but I just want to mention that our copy is different than what's in the packet. So, on the revenue side, you'll see that the budget currently includes 13 million bond proceeds. This is that anticipated revenue from bonds that will be issued for the Tesla Park project. So this is their placeholder, and it's the reason that the overall revenue number is substantially higher than the steeper EDA budget. And you'll notice the 2026 budget also includes placeholder for the bonds. That was at 15 million rather than 13. 13 is more reflective of what the bonds currently looking like that the board will consider. So that 13 million is there for the bond proceeds. And then under expenditures, you also see 11 million capital outlay. I just want to point out that this is there to represent money that will be going out to reimburse the township for the bonds. The reason it's listed as 11 rather than 13 is to account for the reimbursement for Berbers, which is approximately 2 million. So that's why I said 11 rather than 13 to show that 2 million that will be coming to the fund balance for that reimbursement. So if you jump to the second page, to the very bottom, you'll see that the net of revenues and appropriations for fiscal year 27 is at just over 2 million. Again, the reason for this large revenue bonus that 2 million as I just mentioned. So with the DDA ending fund balance of just over 3 million under this requested budget. And then moving back to the first page in the 2027 requested expenditures, again, many of the line items that were over the order. I'll just point out a few that have changed significantly. One of the biggest changes you'll notice is an increase in cost allocation plan line item from 475,000 to 250,000. The cost allocation plan is essentially paying back the general fund for administrative overhead. So township resources that the EDA is benefiting from. This reduction reflects the EDA taking on the cost of the park project and associated debt service, which is a significant expenditure. So since the EDA is contributing such a large financial commitment, something that offers the broader township benefit, that reduced allocation helps offset some of the debt service. So that's why that's been requested to be lowered. Another noticeable change from the 2026 budget is the transportation line item. You'll notice in the past that's always been budgeted at 60,000 a year. And that's for funding the resident transportation through the whole network. As a service that's reservation based and for seniors or people with disabilities looking for bus rides to medical appointments. The requested budget does remove that, but that's with the intent of that cost being taken out of the township general fund. And that's because it's more appropriate that township general fund to fund that service rather than days. So that's why everyone's that change there. Additionally, another change is on special projects line for EDA lighting at the core. You'll notice a jump from 15 to 40,000 for this year. The reason for that jump is last year we expanded the holiday lighting onto the pedestrian bridge, and we also did the RFP for bids. If you remember, essentially all of this, they came back or over what we had budgeted. So this takes that into account, and then also started putting seasonal banners on the bridge. That adds a little bit to these lines as well. So staff believe 40,000 would be sufficient to cover those costs.
I have a question. You said that that's gonna flowers and.
Or the DDA holiday lighting, so for
That's
Christmas. Yeah. And then it does cover other reports throughout the year, so you do the banners on the bridge show up, the change seasonally, and any other decor and lighting items that could come up. Another one is, as you mentioned, flowers and plantings. That line item has decreased from 110,000 to 60,000. You'll see under activity in 2024, 2025. We did not come very close to that 110,000, with expenditures of 39,000, 27,000. Even with the additional flowers on the bridge this year, and if we look to expand further down the village area, 60,000 should be enough to cover those expenditures. We can always reconsider that the scope of landscaping rotating changes here in the future. And the largest increase in the operating side too is special projects development grants. I want to point that out. That's that site improvement grant. And then that also encompasses the security grant that we just passed in the last meeting as well. So 25,000 that is intended for that grant. And there will be 250,000 for the site improvement grant. Site improvement grants increased for a couple of reasons. One now being that the new zoning ordinance amendments that have been approved. Staff can anticipate there might be a strong demand here in 2027 for the grant program. And also to make the grant program effective, there needs to be a substantial amount of incentive for business owners to be interested. So we put 250,000 with the thoughts making more appropriate for us to start for the program once it's reinstated. Again, same as when the grant was first created, that 100,000 allocated. It's difficult to tell what kind of demand there's going to be and what to expect. So this can certainly be revisited during the year if we decide that there should be a different dollar amount there. But this would also be an appropriate for discussion. You guys want to discuss the priority of this item. Before turning over, a major item I want to point out is the loan principal line. That is to demonstrate what the debt service, projected debt service, for the bond will look like. This totals 953,000, which includes the 85,000 of current debt that the EDA has. So as you can see, the EDA would be able to make these debt service payments as projected and still maintain its fund balance. And so those are the major changes I want to highlight. There are a few smaller investments throughout the budget, but overall, those items have the biggest impact in 2026 to 2027. That has been all about your discussion. We'll be answering questions. And after discussion, I know there are questions. So the action we're looking for tonight would be to do a motion to recommend that the township board approve the EDA's request for the 2027 budget.
Question on the original budget for contract services for the line directors or engineer.
Yes.
Haven't spent anything this year. Contract next year. What was that intended for? Oh,
So I believe originally, that was mainly made up of services from OHM for their, but, for the concept plan that they did for the village area, that was a large chunk. About 50-50 split between OHM and McKenna for services they did, strategic planning, and planning within that area. Those are projects that have since wrapped up and don't have any planned, contract services we do McKenna or OHM these years, that's why that's been zeroed out, same for engineering, we don't have any planned costs for engineering services.
and we have an expense line on that is.
Correct.
And I think what plan on it or will it go to?
No plan on it,
Well, I'm actually really glad you asked the questions. I need to follow up with the finance department because we have incurred expenses for the task of our design and I need to ask what those are charged to. So, I will follow up on that, but I think the intent of those large numbers were all associated with the task of our project, which we imagine. And that was a continuation of the OHM contract, which occurred in 2024. And so we carried some of that funding over to allow for that flexibility if it was needed.
Well, it could be some, there could be some activity for those.
There could be, yes, yeah. But moving forward into next year, it'll all fall under the land improvement line item.
Good question. Loan principal. Can you? I know you guys explained it before, but you have some, I think that could be bond that were. Yeah, it's just, can you, I mean, that's a huge jump, I get it, I get it, but I just want to, yeah, I can do that, so, I believe, $368,000 of that is what is currently projected. Should the EV line out at $13 million, that would be what the 2027 debt service, even that could be covered and also the bonds, so that would be what the EV would then be paying back to the township for issuing those bonds. So that's why that jumps from $85,000 to that larger debt service. That's a part of that's a part of the project that would
Yeah, that's the board was here probably right a year ago and I went through the kind of the different scenarios. So that would be the debt service to pay back that bond amount. You guys did the agreement with the township back in July to pay that debt service, so that's what that is. The 85,000 is when the DBA they took on the debt to pay when they bought Toppy, and that was, I don't know, maybe that was very stupid, remember? Yeah, it was quite some time ago, so that portion of that line item will fall off, I believe, in 2030. And don't hold it, right, it's around there, and the rest of it is all tied back to the park improvements and the crosswalk or.
What was the feedback last on that? Sorry, I'm showing this now.
When it will be paid off.
Yeah.
The DBA is projected sunsets in 2042, which I'll give a topic for another day, but so this bond will go through 2042 and be paid out before the DBA is extended. And I can share some more, I was still having in front of me, we have an amortization schedule that shows those payments over the course of the next 15 years, I can share with the board.
Are we? Drop somebody off of health insurance benefits?
Oh, so health insurance was budgeted at family full coverage. And so the way that the insurance is actually projected to be budgeted for 2027 is actually for to fulfill what's actually in the position. Which is right. Yeah.
But we plan for family full.
Yeah.
On planning.
Right, yeah. And then, while we're just looking at different items, I just want to make sure that nobody, hears it wrong, or leaves the impression that we're not gonna be transporting anybody anymore. The reason transportation was in the DDA historically is because that was, paying for the bus, which came down 28th Street, was a much larger number than what we pay out now. So the service to the handicap and to the seniors is still available in the township. It's just being allocated to the right budget. It's because not all those rides are coming out of the TVA or going over to the TVA. So it's not appropriate to have them that might have been the TVA budget any longer.
You look at a lot of the thing with street lights, who is the street lighting in Central?
Yes. Yeah.
For that activity, John.
It just occurred 2 weeks ago, so it's cracking up. Yeah.
And not anticipating street lights in 2027.
Yeah.
They finished those in some time.
I don't know if they've actually completely finished some. I know they were wrapping up, they were storing some other equipment, just out back of the line, so I don't think they'll take them here, but. You can say you drive through lane lights on, sorry. I can report back tomorrow.
Safe phone. That really carried the mic off.
Sorry.
Any other questions? Otherwise, motion to approve this budget for to the founding board for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Minutes. Still habits.
So, there's a few updates. So I just want to start by mentioning that the Kent Garden Club received an award this last week from the Michigan Nursery and Landscape Association, specifically for its work on the garden next to the museum. And so that's on the corner of Cascade and River Drive. And the association presented them with the Community Landscape Beautification Award. And then we also have the communications director from Senator Heisinger's office. There presented a signed tribute as well. So if you have to walk through the park at some point, you'll notice there's some word out for student artists that was supposed to be. They acknowledged the difference it makes, living in that space for life. So it's cool. Another update, zoning ordinance. As you're probably aware, an update on zoning ordinance. And then obviously it's been a long process, and earlier this month, the zoning was on the ballot for the voters to decide. That vote did result in the zoning ordinance going into effect. That was approved back in February. So with that, this does have effect on site for the new grant that we mentioned about the budget. That was suspended while we were waiting to see about those changes. So with those changes, official staff will work on updating the guidelines for the program, and we'll bring those back to the board for you to consider. And so at this point, most owners are looking at projects for 2027 as well. So we do have some time to evaluate there. Tesla Park, which kind of brings past these ones, we just discussed kind of where things are at. As far as next steps, the township board will consider it at its next meeting. The development agreement with the EDA approved at its last meeting. Approval of the bid award that we just approved here tonight, and then actually discussing the approval to issue bonds. So we're certainly moving forward with that project, which is exciting. And then just a couple business updates. We actually had 2 new businesses in the last month or so. The first being Runaway Angels Consignment. They have been open for the past 5 years in downtown Pena. They actually relocated their shop on the street. So they did a grand reopen with the Business Association on July 22nd. And then the other new business is Gorsuch and Friends Chiropractic. They opened on August 7th, and they did a ribbon cutting as well with the Business Association. Their office is in the Cascade Point office complex. I was able to attend their opening, and it was very well attended, which is good to see. They did a really nice job with the inside of that office. So, Dr. Gorsuch's practice, it's her first practice, she's graduated, and it sounds like it's a neurologically focused practice, working with athletes as well. So, excited to have that in the village. And upcoming events later this week, we have Metro Cruise warm up at the pit stop. We've been in contact with them as they're getting ready, so we'll have great attendance for that, and really good. So we increase visitor traffic this weekend for businesses. And then also the Cascade concert series, we have our last one of the summer. I believe this month's performance at 12 person and social service be a fun one. The July concert, I heard had great attendance similar to June, so they've been doing really well with attendance. Those are the only updates I have, but
Burgers felt that it's very real. About these coming up, I think. I mean, with the miracle sign up there. They've invested over $2 million into their business.
I saw the Porsche dealership was advertising on social media that they're gonna have. Yeah, that's a pretty big event. They got some classic Porsches parked out there. So it's nice to see that the businesses are getting involved.
That's what I said, and I know the last meeting, somebody asked my thoughts on the cameras within the restaurant. And so, I've been doing some thinking on the last one, and something that occurred to me was that, so like people put these cameras in, and Kent County does want to go and look at information. Somebody could now, but it's saying that process and pull it up. So it becomes public information. And so now anybody, especially competition, but also, that's what we see on YouTube. Then, if you're seeing the police, car chase, you go to the HTV. There's going to be something behind the scenes, about that. And so there again, picking up different things, so something you have to be looking at for the activities, but looking at the virtual stuff that's around, so you can find that and look at that, and especially if you have franchising part of this thing into that forward, yeah, and they are franchise. Like there's 1,000 other restaurants that are dependent on each other in a strictly technical running. I would be jeopardizing their livelihood too. I'm saying that there's things going on also, but this small business things happen, that's harder things out.
Because the access that it gives them becomes protected. Totally.
And so at that point, I could say, well, pull my hands like that big, we talked about and stuff. So that is probably the biggest.
what the difference is between those, I'm sure there's a huge difference and floppy. Because I think the public doesn't get it. It's probably not a conversation for, but it's coming down the road.
There's a lot of,
I guess.
yeah, it's getting a lot of attention from a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in this, right? We'll pose the question to the sheriff's office and their student plan. And I don't have documentation in front of me. I do believe that there was a very short retainage period, when we signed up for this for how long they would actually store that. But we will ask them, that since I would hope that they're legal, we're gonna take a look at that, the sheriff's office. And we'll cover that, but we'll get an answer. So this is actually not a question. If you had, yeah.
So then you gotta go through the trust and then.
Because they don't see that in that.
Sometimes, especially.
Yeah, we can get more information on that, because if you have a question, we'll probably go from some others as well. So,
Transparently share, I've signed that and made connected in March, that our camera angles, while it's high definition, they're gonna see someone crossing. So we weren't, from our standpoint, we weren't giving away any trade secrets, from it. We had to think about that, decision set. Primarily, I think the learning that access any view was going to be my outside of business. In all honesty, that's the reason. But your point, once you access the array, you're gonna get full access. I think they have a full. I think it's all anything. These are great questions. I'm trying to test for it.
You know, it's a lot.
And do this on what you've experienced from this, that weighing pros and cons for allowing them to use that you outweigh it. But you don't think that choose just to say you don't have access to camera 179 12 outdoor cameras. That is what you have. That's for, I mean, I don't think they have the most sophisticated system in the world, but it poses a great problem. Yeah.
So they live in shop, you know, we love car gangs and one person car gangs.
They're not carjackings, they're break-ins.
They're break-ins.
Yes, there's are. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's definitely a difference between carjacking.
If I did a call for say, that's like, take a look at the media, like, see. And I know it's on the industry, and I had in time, that's in check. Weird as something that there's more walkers in this, the people that are gonna probably go on, order, I think, what we really think, more on top is on out with us, but interactions, on positive, Cascade. I don't know, it's not. It's sort of all the time, like you have to notice it. There's everyone falls with Cascade, and we're just outside. I don't know if you notice that same problem.
I think what I've seen is common of my issues in my area. They issues that you would be crossing. So I've got a son, so more time talking. Don't hear anything. You know, really fix
The
this.
sense are comes off, I don't know, today it's mostly building. So, maybe it's like, it's about. That's something, yeah. Or you keep it, yeah, I was.
What has happened before in the past though, being there for 30 years, I mean, we had stuff. 25 years ago, with a flasher running, I mean, flasher in place and the other. So it's not like it's not unheard of to happen, that. Makes first waves.
There's also it's for.
And I would already about like where the phone, because there's had a kind of very long time. And shopping because it's really good. I got really pretty good. A lot of pocket money. But I was really good. So like it's happened at different times. Like I realized from the 90s.
Security cameras, this is new territory. So there's gonna be a lot of scenarios that I think just there needs to be transparent updates of what everyone's signing up for, or my signing up for.
I have one more update that I think we can sort of watch, but it's all happening fast, but you are all aware of our community, police officers, Omar Diva. He got promoted, so he is no longer our community police officer. Fortunately, the Kent County Sheriff's Office moved very quickly and got some other candidates internally last week, and the new one started today, or actually yesterday. Her name is Chelsea Shan. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Scott, sorry, Chelsea Scott. So she will probably have run considers herself where else at to do an update. But I think we found a really great candidates coming in north of well, this Omar, but
I know, we're good for him, congratulations.
Yeah.
We sort of touched on maybe some candidates.
We kind of had been doing, picking up the slack in between, we hired. With income candidate, that's what I'm like, we want someone who's really good. We can do it.
There's that in on board. He comes to us from the east side of the state. For the last 13 years, he's actually been city manager, and prior to that, he's been in the planning world for 11 years prior to that, so he's a planner at heart. And transferred to the United States, he served yesterday as well. Had his first planning commission meeting last night.
He realized that we need a manager, is worth the extra money, and hang out with him. And he's got all the sort, what do you call it, AICP or the
Yeah, he's got all the
qualifications?
state certifications. Correct.
Very good.
Thanks. What's his name?
Dan Swallows. Oh,
Does National have a instructions or something?
I have asked the same question. I'm not sure what their delay is. I don't have an answer for that.
I just. Good stuff.
Alright. Do we have any visitors on?
Nope.
With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting it.